Well, good afternoon and welcome back to Vermont. I thought I would take you along with me on a maintenance activity in my basement working on my Rheem hot water heater, something I've had on my mind to do the last month or two and finally made time for it today. While I was at it, changing my home water filters, got a artesian well at the house for a water supply, not on town water, so the water comes in with a lot of sediment, iron, and silt and other things. So anyway, common around here to have a home filter on your well system. So I was changing those filter elements, and then while I had the water shut off, I thought I would take a look at my hot water heater, in particular to look at the anode, which is installed in all of your tank type water heaters. And for those that don't know, the purpose of the anode is it's usually made of zinc, a zinc rod, and that has a tendency to corrode faster than any of the steel in the tank. So by having an anode inserted into the system, it's electrically bonded to the tank itself, and it's called cathodic protection due to the electrical nature of or the nobility, I guess, of the metal, the zinc metal. It will corrode sooner than the steel will in the tank, or the copper, or other things like that. So that's the purpose. Anyway, they do corrode over time, and I'll show you here in pictures that mine didn't need to be changed. I thought it was in much worse shape than it was after inspection, but it was a good idea to get it changed. In 2017, I bought a Rheem brand heat pump water heater. Here's the model number. It's an XE65T, and it's a 65-gallon model. And again, it's a heat pump style. We've got a wood stove in our basement to help heat in the wintertime, so the basement's always quite warm. So my thinking on the heat pump style is I can pull a lot of the warmth out of the basement and put it into my hot water tank, and maybe do that a little bit more efficiency on the electrical bill than just a direct heating element style water heater. This model has electrical elements in it that you can activate and heat it like a traditional hot water heater, electrically heated hot water heater, but I've always run this in heat pump mode. So I want to show you in this picture a couple things. On the bottom of the picture, you can see I've got a plastic baggie taped onto the side of the water heater, and that's where I put the instructions, the maintenance manual, my own notes that keeps a history of service that I've performed on the appliance. I do this for various things around the house. I sometimes contemplate just keeping a 3-ring binder, my wife's idea, to put together with all of the information for the various systems of the house, when they were serviced, when they're next due, and I haven't gotten to that point yet. While it's a good idea, I've just managed each system separately. So for example, here on the water heater, I've got everything I need out where I can reach it. Same thing on the washing machine and the dryer and so forth. Anyway, that's how I run it. And the other thing I want to show you in this picture on the left, it's a bit difficult to see, but let's say between the white PVC pipe and the larger diameter and then the smaller diameter of the PVC pipe, you can see 2 metal rods. In the picture, those are accessory anodes, additional ones I have on standby that I bought just to have ready. So I wasn't waiting on UPS or Amazon for the parts when I need them. I bought, I think, 3. I used one today, and there are 2 left. And also, sitting on the top of one of those anodes is the custom socket that I need to do this work. And rather than keep it in my toolbox where it could get lost, and there's another story there, I just keep it here. I bought it for this purpose. I keep it here with the anodes, so I don't have to go hunting for it. I've got mostly what I need here to do the job when I need to do the job. And also on my notes, I've written down the part number that I ordered. These were from Home Depot, the replacement anodes. I've got that part number written down, as well as the price, what they were at the time. And these I bought in, I think, 2019 or 2020. Here's my notes, including the last service I just did today, and a general condition report on what I found when I changed the anode. So as you can see here, I installed the unit new in 2017. Looks like July, and then I changed the first anode right away. Well, maybe I should have sooner. I changed the anode for the first time in February of 20, and that was a factory anode, and I don't know if it was a condition of my water at the time or just the quality of the anode, but it was completely consumed. There was nothing left of that anode in 3 years of use, or 2.5 years of use. So I was a bit nervous based on that memory. 2.5 years. I didn't expect much to be left of the anode here today. So again, I did it today, February of 25, and 5 years after my last service. And I'll show you here in a picture. Very pleasantly surprised to see that the anode that I took out was less than 50% consumed. Maybe 25 to 30% of it was deteriorated. So that is to say, I wasn't late. I could have waited another year, perhaps, maybe 2, to do this work. But as it is, I put the new anode in, and I'm very happy with that. So I just try to keep notes like this and a general condition report, as I said, so I can train myself for when the next service might be due. So I didn't take any film video, like most of my late videos here are just narrated pictures. If you saw the video I put out about making a sturdy clothes drying rack for winter gear, you'll understand I don't have much room in my basement to be nimble with this, even doing this job. More of the work was just getting to the water heater and having elbow room to do some work. That was harder than the work. So some of you may understand how that goes. In this picture, if you're not familiar with the heat pump style, I've got some acrylic low density filter cloth, I guess you could say. I just tore that off, and it's laying over the air inlet. There's 3 pieces of it there, white and brown, dirty. You can see I'm just laying them over the inlet to the top of the water heater, which draws air through it by a fan to pass through a radiator, and that's how you get the heat transfer, a part of the system for the heat pump. The black bar there is a straight mesh filter. It just pulls out. So I'm trying to pre-filter any of the wood, smoke, ash, and dust that's in my basement from getting in the system before it goes through the OEM filter. And then the outlet is facing us here in the camera, and you can see the fan there. That's the exhaust. So it sucks air in the top and blows it out to the front. And there's the control panel on the left. So the start of the work isn't too complicated on this model. You can see a rim. Around the rim is a silver screw. There are 4 of those, all around the top cap of the water heater. And then on this model as well, there are 4 screws from the top down that go into some brackets just to help seal the lid over some gasket to get better airflow through the filter. So that's the purpose of that. So a total of 8 sheet metal screws have to come out. No big deal. It's easy to do with a hand tool. And what else can I tell you? After getting the screws out, put them somewhere that you won't lose them and where they're handy. And then I, by hand, just pried the lid off the top of this can. And because the power comes in with some slack off the ceiling, and there's a little bit of room, a pigtail of loose wire inside. So there's some slack on the internal wiring connections. There's enough there to pry this lid off and just kind of spin it out of your way, out of the back. You don't need to disconnect the wire. Well, maybe you want to for safety. I chose not to disconnect the wiring and make less work for myself. So I was able to just lift this lid off and spin it around and set it gently off out of my way to the rear. I did turn the heat pump off before the water heater off before I started this work, just to avoid that kind of trouble. But I did leave it powered coming in, so it just depends on your comfort level. Certainly would be safest to throw the breaker and cut the power to the unit. Okay, here we are looking down into the top. Again, that lid's just spun back, and you can see the 4 screw holes that I was mentioning in some gasket material. So right down inside that trapezoid shape, that's where we'll access the anode. You can see in the next picture, I've actually got it removed, but it's down in a well. That's why you can't get a wrench on it, you know, a pipe wrench or channel locks or even a crescent wrench, adjustable wrench. You can't get down to bite the head of the bolts on top of the anode. So a deep well socket works really well. I then used an extension, a 1/2-inch drive extension to get up out of the top of the water heater, and then I used a breaker bar just to gently motivate it out, coax it out. I think I mentioned earlier, but you want to make sure that your water pressure is off. Somehow you've got to isolate your water tank so that your pump isn't trying to pressurize the system. It would be good as well to drain it down just to be sure that it's not under pressure. If you've got the ability to do that, and as I said, I was changing my water filters in the house anyway, and I had the system depressurized and somewhat drained. So just be sure of that before you crack the seal on your anode. It should be in the top of your unit, and water won't pour out of it. But if you're under pressure, you're going to get some water in your face. So that's my recommendation there. And here's the old anode extracted on the right side, of course. And it's about twice as long as what I showed in the picture, the way I oriented the camera. But the new one, zinc anode, is on the left. So you can see the deterioration I was talking about. I guess 25 to 30% of it was consumed. The lower half of the rod was still good. I don't regret that I changed it, but it's just good to know that this rod went 5 years, and it probably could have gone 1 or 2 more before being fully consumed. So when you get ready to install this, it is a pipe thread on the nut, I'll say, or the fitting. The top of the rod is a tapered pipe, NPT pipe tap, but it's a good idea to wrap it in Teflon tape, a couple rings of tape around the threads just to be sure you get a good water seal. And I didn't torque this calibrated wrist, I suppose, with a breaker bar. I just tightened it up until it felt right without overdoing it. Probably folks have comments about that, but that's the way I do it, and haven't had any problems with that yet. So that's about it. Trophy beer when you get a job well done. Put the unit all back together, tested for leaks, repressurized, turned the hot water heater back on, and you know, I know 130 is too warm for most people, but we like it hot. So I'm not recommending you don't read into my videos. You know, it's this is almost scalding hot. I think 125 is standard. But the point that I'm drawing you to is I adjusted the temperature up 1 degree to 131 and had it kick on just to let it run for a little bit while I was down there enjoying a cold beer. And everything seemed to run great. No problems and no leaks and no pooling of water. So a job well done. And as I said earlier, just keep notes on, help yourself out the next time that you come back here, or your serviceman does it if you hire it out. Keep some notes. What you did, what you found, what you saw. And I would recommend as well to buy, if you're buying a part that's consumable, buy 2. I bought 3 at the time, and I just used the second, so I've still got one ready for 5 years from now. It's just gives me comfort to know I've got the parts I need and I'm not waiting on next day delivery, especially if something, this is kind of a benign passive maintenance activity, but could be something more serious where if you're out of water, it's hard to deal with for more than a day or 2 in the house. So again, just depending on the parts, it's handy to keep a little bit around, so you can have your own hardware store in your basement or your garage. So with that, I'd say thanks for your patience. It's been a long time since I've posted a video. Been busy. And I'm still looking for advice on equipment, cameras, microphones, and things like that for how to make YouTube a little more enjoyable to watch and a little more enjoyable to make. So thanks for dealing with my still picture narration and following me along on this job, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for visiting Vermont. Have a great day.